Hey everybody, how are you? Thanks for joining us today. It is a show about Week 18, which is kind of a show about nothing because Week 18 stinks. But you know what? We're here because we're going to talk about some of these games matter and some of them very much don't. Hi, Jim McCormick. How are you?
I mean, I'm of the belief that Week 17 never even happened. So, as an Eagles fan, I feel like the bye started last week. So,
Here's what I would say. Like this is mostly meant to be kind of a preview show of just talking about the games and getting people psyched up, and they're going to watch a few of them and what. But we'll also make picks. And my theory was if we had good picking records for the year, we'd be like, we're not going to pick these games. Week 18, too random. We don't know who's sitting, who's starting. It's too random. We're not picking it. But we both are below 500 right now. We both had losing records last week, and so we both sunk below Mount 500. We were exactly 500 each of us, unbelievably, last week. So I think it's a fantastic opportunity for us to not dig any further holes, and I find Week 18 to be incredibly valid.
I mean, it's just preseason NBA level caliber of competition. I also could just throw it to. You can cut this out later, Producer Dave, but can you do an arbitrary endpoint to whatever would be my best record? Like whether it's week 2 to week 9, whatever that is. Let's highlight that because that is the real sample size. I just want to say that.
Right. So. Jim has had a cranial abrasion since week 9, so none of his picks actually count since then. It's
the 5 weeks when people thought Russell Wilson was good. That's my record.
Right. So. All right. So we want to thank DraftKings for sponsoring us again this week, and I'll talk about more about them in just a little bit. I want to reward and thank and appreciate one of our listeners who I've known for a long time, Wesley, who got a pick in last week's comments correct. And Jim, it was the Patriots, and yeah, we're going to talk about how Josh Allen looked in that game. It wasn't very good, but Wesley correctly took the Patriots when you and I both thought that the Bills would walk easily in that game. So good on Wesley for that. And by the end of the show, we would love for you to write a comment. It doesn't really do anything. It's not for commerce or anything. We just feel like, yay, somebody left a comment. They care. They watched. That's great. If you're listening on YouTube, if you're listening on podcast, you could just say it out loud. Just say your comment out loud, and someone in your house will go, "Are you talking to me?" And you could say no. So comments, welcome. We'll ask you your best bet by the end of the show. Jim, before we get into the silliness, there's a friend of yours who you'd like to mention a GoFundMe for.
Yes, my good friend Emil Kadelic. He is one of the OGs of fantasy from the football diehards guys. Even if you're not he's a behind-the-scenes guy mostly throughout the years. He's dealing with, he was recently diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and his obviously there's an onerous cost to all that to continue through treatment. He has a beautiful family. He's from New Mexico. And, our good friend Bob Harris, who is his partner, they're going to be suspending operations, but this GoFundMe, which you'll be able to find a link to, will help support him through this tough time. And there's also a cool, Matt Harmon is part of, there's a cool playoff tournament too, if you'd like to join it. That you can find it on my Twitter if you'd like to. I'm retweeting it, and it's just a way to join, and all the proceeds go to ML as well. So
I will do it as well. I'm certainly going to give, and I will retweet as well, so people can find me at Harris Football, and it's a really good cause and very awful situation. So anything anybody can do to help, we'd really would appreciate it. All right, so we're going to spend some time on some of these games, Jim, and some of them that just don't matter. I don't know that I have that much to say. There's 2 Saturday games, and in Week 18, the first is, why did you put this as a Saturday game? That's a great question, Chris. I don't know why, NFL. It's the Steelers going to Baltimore, and the Ravens have locked up the 1 seed. The Steelers can still get in if they win and then get help. And the Steelers, because we know the Ravens aren't going to play their guys, the Steelers are being called a 4-point road favorite.
I mean, is Tyler Huntley still the best quarterback in this game? Pro Bowler?
Probably.
The other thing too that I find that I really just want to hone in on is that there are several men and women, but I'm going to say it's a guy, the Yinzer, which is what they call them in Pittsburgh. There's a Yinzer sitting in a bar in Pittsburgh right now who's like, he's like, Lamar Jackson's just afraid of us. That's why he's not playing. he just doesn't want to play the Steelers. But yeah, no, this is a treat. This is the He's the slightly above 500 Steve Fisher. Is that what's happening with Mike Tomlin? I'm not sure, but it's like the 9-8 syndrome. This one is tough to appreciate. At the same time, my favorite part about last week was the controversy whether Kenny Pickett wanted to be a backup or not. That's a bad sign when that is the number one narrative coming out of your game, particularly when you got when you're just not that good. So yeah.
So I'll say, my thing last week was, see, I'm right. Every time someone declares a team is the best team in the league, they poo. And that didn't happen last week. I thought the Dolphins might go up to Baltimore and prove that there isn't a great team this year, and they did not. And that may be more about the Dolphins than about the Ravens, but I eat that one for sure. Totally incorrect. This is not a measure of that at all, because it's not going to be but it's not like preseason NBA. It's not like everyone can sit. The rosters aren't that big. There are going to be starters that play for the Ravens, just not the stars. And frankly, I found it. I'm going to take these points rather. Taking all day long. I'm taking the Ravens +4.
Yeah, I am too, because I think we hear that like a star is out, and even if they're playing, that's the point too. Philosophically, the way they can play, like this could still just be an ugly grind. I don't even know if I'd want to give 4 points either way, knowing. Like with Lamar out.
Right.
That doesn't really make sense, but my point is I think this to be a tight game. And look, Justin Tucker's not sitting. He's going to have like 17 field goals. So we'll put that out there.
So, I mean, a theme for me is going to be, I think when it's like a team that has nothing to play for and or is resting guys is up against someone who quote unquote has something to play for. I think it's just very clear the market overreacts. From look at these lines, the market overreacts. And I think if there's any value to be had in a very stupid Week 18, it's this sort of spot where I think mostly the market is overplaying the Steelers' hand. And I think that's we're both agreeing with that. All right, but the other Saturday night game is actually, good? Question mark? Not really, because the Colts are not good. We know that. And the Texans, I think they're pretty good when CJ Stroud plays, and they blew doors last week for sure, but they're still young and full of something, they're hard to trust. Let's put it that way. Last time these teams played, it was like, I think week 2 in Houston, and the Colts won. This is a very different Houston team though. No matter what we think about their youth, very different Houston team.
Yeah. Was that the game where like Anthony Richardson scored 2 rushing touchdowns in like 3 seconds and then was like, I'm out. Yeah. Not making a joke about like that. I'm just saying it was a very quick blur of a performance. I think this is to be expected with Houston, right? This volatility. Like they had all this momentum during the season. Remember, they beat the Steelers, the aforementioned Steelers, which, they crushed them. They've had some peaks. They've also had some valleys. Also the health. Like these receivers can't stay healthy. So I think there's some reasoning to why Houston hasn't been good. I just think still like Stroud is the best quarterback in this setup. So like I still just
it's that part is not even close. And if you want to say, like, okay, my best bet last week came through. Best bet's kind of going well. I think I'm 8-1-1 in the last 10 weeks. However,
he said I think as if he doesn't know. So I love it.
I do know. The Raiders didn't exactly look good in that game, but did have a chance to win at the end, and they were 3.5-point dog, and they lost by 3. So rock on, Raiders. Not my safest pick ever, but. I'm just picking against the Colts. I just don't understand what Jonathan Taylor's a good player. They still have the kind of the skeleton, the bones of that offensive line that was good for Andrew Luck 1,000 years ago. But they haven't been good anywhere except Jonathan Taylor for 1.5 to 2 years. Let me just we're leaning the same direction. Let me take you back because this one could be for the division, right? If the Jags lose. Then the winner of this game wins the division. And either way, the winner of this game makes the wild card, is at least a wild card. Let me take you back a year to week 18 in Houston between these two teams. And that's all anyone's going to,
right.
All anyone's going to talk about is like, you blew the chance at Bryce Young. Right. And I guess that proves some obscure point about never lose intentionally and never tank. The football gods will just punish you and you don't get CJ Stroud instead. Like this was the going 4th and forever and Davis Mills somehow completes a touchdown and then they go for 2 to win instead of going overtime and they win and they blow the 1 pick. I still think there are not in this game, but like I don't look back at that and go, see, the gods of the NFL will always make you happy if you don't tank at the end.
Right.
Not the lesson that I learned there.
No, because I remember the Eagles the year that the Giants got Joe Judge. There's a throwback. The Eagles tanked that last game and ended up getting the Devonta Smith and also the pick that they traded back to collect. My point being, it's okay to position yourself. It's also okay to make like Lovie Smith, who looks like Santa Claus, to make him angry too, because it worked out. So.
The thing also is, who's to say if Houston had the one, they wouldn't have also taken Stroud, right? There's all those rumors that Frank Reich wanted Stroud at one. So, like, who's to say? Anyway, I think we're both going. I mean, Houston's a road favorite here. It's a 1-point spread as of our recording this, but it sounds like we're both going laying the point.
Yeah, I am. Also, I just want to note that I watched the NFL Films recap this past week, and Max Crosby just kept calling everybody a little. I guess I can say like ASS boy, last boy. He kept saying the last boy, and he kept saying it so strangely. It wasn't like exciting. Like he would just maul Gardner Minshew, and that's a good Philly word, maul. And then he would say, and he would just say little ass boy, and then Minshew was like, "Am I little? Am I that little?" It was just. I thought that was the outcome of that game. But the one thing I will say is that. It is a jack of all trades team, the Colts. I can't pick out one thing that excites me about that team, other than maybe whatever Anthony Richardson's going to be. But my point is I just don't have a vibe with that team. Where I do think there's some things that the Houston can really, really accomplish. Like Will Anderson, people don't talk about him. He had a great rookie year. So yes, I'm giving the points on the road here. So
all right, so we're going to get to Sunday's games here in a moment. Let's thank DraftKings for being a sponsor of this show all season long. Really appreciate them sticking with us. If you're looking for a place to play these games, or maybe like the college football final, do you care about Washington against Michigan, Jim? Do you have a?
Not really. But I will say again, not to bring everything back to the Eagles, but that one final play for Alabama where they just ran into a wall. People were like, "Are the Eagles running the Alabama offense?" Because that was the 3 timeouts, by the way, 3 consecutive timeouts, and they were like, "Let's just run there." So just want to throw that out there.
All right, I would say, I have to admit, when I was a little kid, very little kid, 5 years old, I rooted for Michigan. I had like a little miniature Michigan jersey. I didn't know any better. They were kind of good, so I guess I'll root for Michigan. If Texas had made it, obviously, I would root for Texas. Anyway, if you would like to play a place where you can play these games, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code HarrisTube, all one word. That lets them know that you found out about them here, and that gives us a little feather in our cap in their eyes, and maybe they'll come back next year and sponsor the show again. And more importantly, it gives you the ability to make one $5 bet. Instantly, you'll get $150 in bonus bets put into your account as soon as you make that bet. And then you can mess around and have fun and bet on other things, the NBA, the NHL, whatever, English Premier League. All you have to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and sign up using the code HarrisTube, all one word, and we do thank DraftKings for sponsoring. All right, on to Sunday, the other side of the AFC South nonsense, the Jags, totally trustable, absolutely, going to Tennessee. And, they just beat Carolina real bad, so I'm sure they'll do it again.
You could convince me that the AFC South plays each other every week. I
know.
It's like an endless cycle. It's incredible. It's like a 4-team NFL. I will say that, I keep saying I will say. Of course I'm going to say that. I'm about to say it. The Wires, I don't know about this Lawrence guy right now. He's not throwing. I don't know if I've seen this before where he was just doing a ton of dropbacks but not throwing. He didn't have the rag. The rag at least lets you know that his arm can move. So I'm not too sure about this one. I know he's gone through a lot. He's basically like tall Nordic Derek Carr right now, just in terms of his body's falling apart. He's like a broken G.I. Joe. But this game confuses me because I think they're both bad. We did our 2 or 3 weeks ago. I guess it was week 16 or was it? We did our 15. We did our bad index, and it was
make the noise. Make the noise.
Oh no!
Right. People now they remember.
Yes, the bad index and. It was so many teams that qualified. I think it was without quarterback injuries, it was 18, but it could have pushed to 2022 or whatever, just based on straight attrition. The point being, these are both bad teams. It's very hard to handicap this team, other than the fact that one team cares, but that team also has Doug Peterson and his visor. And I love Doug Peterson for what he's done for me, but I don't know, man. He looks like he works in Sector 7G a little bit. So,
I agree. I don't know if these teams are all that different from each other. And I remember very clearly Josh Dobbs of the Tennessee Titans going into Jacksonville last year and
Whoa.
being a favorite and supposed to go win the division, and he didn't. And suddenly the Jags were hosting the Chargers, and we all remember what that happened, right? And then the Jags went to Kansas City and almost won that game because they knocked out Patrick Mahomes. Anyway, all of which is to say, yeah, I don't trust either one of these teams at all. I don't trust the Jags. Calvin Ridley, I wouldn't let him move my furniture. Calvin Ridley I don't know what he would do. It's not like he would take it. He's very wealthy. He would just do something weird to it.
I mean,
he would accidentally spill his Coke on it or something. I don't know.
Calvin Ridley in July felt compelled to respond to a person on Twitter and said, I actually won those parlays. And then he deleted it. So I just like that just lets us know the caliber of frontal lobe energy we're talking about.
After week 1 in that Colts game, he fooled me so bad. I was like, oh my God, this guy's a wide receiver 1. This guy's a stud. He's a top 10 player. And then the whole rest of the year, he just decided, let's make Harris look like a moron, which, this is not the hardest thing he's ever done. But
you picked up pretty. I remember maybe it was week 2 or 3. You mentioned like it's to a detriment. Now it's like feeding James Harden. It's like way too much to one guy, and the whole offense was just straight like the gravity to him, and they were just like out of structure. And then we were like, wait, Christian Kirk's their best receiver, and it wasn't very close.
And there's a chance that he's back for this week, apparently. Exactly. As of our recording this midweek, we actually don't know if he's back. That would help. But there's absolutely no way I believe in the Jags as a 5.5-point road favorite here. Absolutely no way.
Too many, right? Like I felt like this was in that Steelers the weird 3-4 zone. So yeah.
All right. The Vikings apparently still have a chance. A lot of things have to happen, but they have to win against the Lions. The Lions are locked into the 3. It's almost certain. So they're one of those teams that, they got nothing to play for. And the market is clearly telling you that because what did I say the line was on that one? Lions -3, right? Yeah, I think that's right. So like, I guess the market isn't like completely flipping out. We saw these teams play 2 weeks ago, and the Vikings should have won that game straight up, and they got Mullins, as it were, and and then the Vikings. I don't know, which would you rather have as your coach, the one who stubbornly sticks to the backup who stinks, or the one who's like, I'll just try a different one every week? I actually kind of admire what Kevin O'Connell has done. Like, yeah, if it doesn't work, try Jaron Hall. Okay, no, at halftime that's not working. Okay, I'll go back to the idiot. I don't hate it, and Nick Mullins, is certainly going to make it exciting.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. It's. I do love the fact that like everybody watching the game collectively on social media was like, "There's no way this guy takes a second half snap." Just after seeing that, and they were right. I think it's mostly because people were invested in fantasy outcomes with regards to the Minnesota offense. But it is crazy that Nick Mullins had 411 yards, and it was disgusting, right? Like he should have had like 17 interceptions. So yeah, they just let Nick Mullins do whatever he wants. I completely see what you're saying with the Vikings. Like they just don't have a quarterback, and so they're just trying. At the same time, I still believe in like the like Detroit is all over the place. I've somehow backed them too often, but I still think that like they like again, you take away whoever they're going to rest. I still just think they're just the better roster. And also like Dan Campbell just doesn't. He's just gonna. He's blasting AC/DC this whole time. Okay, so it's I just
right. He profiles as a dude who doesn't lay down. I don't care if Jared Goff's not playing. We're not laying down.
Exactly. Yeah, and I don't even know if he does lay down. I think he sleeps standing up. So it's like,
never ever lays down. You know what? That said, I'm doing the McCormick switcheroo. Give me the Vikings. I've been on them all year.
You have.
Vikings +3. You're on the Lions -3, clearly. All right. We have Falcons Saints, and this one matters in that whoever wins would win the NFC South if a game we're about to get to happens a certain way. So there's motivation here. They both need help, but they're certainly going to be playing their guys. There's not going to be any resting going on. The Saints are I was on them last week, and I think I got some side eyes. I didn't have a very good week, but that was kind of a good call, going to Tampa, winning outright, not really having it be that close, and Baker Mayfield getting hurt in that game. The Saints doesn't mean they're good.
I mean, I feel like these teams played last night. I mean, just, again, I talked about this. The NFC South and the AFC South can't stop playing each other. It's ridiculous. It's all one blur. The Saints, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, whenever I'm off them, they're good. Whenever they're good, I'm off them. Yeah, this game is disgusting. I don't know, man. These are bad teams. I mean, does Dennis Allen, like, he gets to, like, say he's good now? I don't understand. I don't know how to handicap this game because Dennis Allen has job security. Arthur Smith doesn't. And you said that it's a good thing that they're not resting players. I don't know, man. Maybe if they rest some players, they get better. You know?
Jameis Winston might be better. You're right. It's actually true.
He also, I saw a reel of him recently. He is one of the funniest people of all time. Like, unintentionally, like, it's
unintentionally funny. Yeah.
It's incredible. Do you ever see the thing where he talks about wrists? He's like, you ever see a wrist? And he starts explaining, like, he's like, isn't it crazy we have wrists? And I'm just like, keep going, keep going. Fill the space. We need 2 more minutes. It's like, I don't know. I'm just going to talk about his wrist. Like, that's my take on this game. So
he is the wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man. That's for sure. I set this at Saints -3. I'm staying away. This is one of my stay away games. I'm good.
I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons because I took them both. I took them twice. A best bet, I think, twice this year as road dogs. Just road favorites, actually. So that's just incredible. What a terrible, terrible handicap.
All right. This one has no meaning whatsoever except for draft position. The Jets are visiting the Patriots. The meaning for we stupid footy pajama Patriot fans are it seems like it's Bill Belichick's last game as coach. I please don't want anybody to think the fact that the Patriots covered last week had all that much to do with the Patriots. It's certainly not their offense. You know, the opening kickoff was returned for a touchdown. Bailey Zappi comes out, immediately throws 2 interceptions, 1 a pick 6. The defense is playing okay. It's playing okay, but also Josh Allen played really bad. But there is probably some motivation. Go play for Bill. I think, there's something probably there. Anyway, we don't need to talk about this game very much. Just it's Patriots -1.5. What do you got?
I think the point total is -2.5, right? Or is it? Like, I'm not sure. Is
negative? That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's being played. They're playing it in a New England high school too. Yeah. Again, I don't know what to say. This week is just a lot of like me buying time. But I will say that between these, I keep saying I will say, what is happening there? I will say this, right?
I will say what I'm about to say.
Aaron Rodgers is terrible, and I like the Bill motivation thing. I do, especially because he gave like a very cold compliment to the Jets, which I just love. That's the most exciting part about this is that the people still talk about his one day as the Jets coach. That's my favorite part about this. But I really do think that the Jets are a fine enough offense, a fine enough defense, but their offense is somehow just as bad as the Patriots, and they don't have the cool narrative. So I'm going with the Patriots.
For one last time, I'll just go with Bill. Fine, -1.5. Please don't use your actual money on this game. Real bad. The aforementioned Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We think they're going to have Baker Mayfield. He has a rib injury, and he did have to leave that game last week at the end, but it was kind of a blowout. As of our recording this, we don't know. But they're going to Carolina, and I don't know, man. I haven't trusted Tampa for a little while now, and it's kind of wearing pretty well on me. Carolina had a thrown drink, one more thrown liquor drink than points last week. They're home. They're against Tampa. You can just tell me what you think. It's Tampa -4.5.
The best joke I heard last week, and it was just real simple, was David Temper. I just really like that.
David Temper, yeah.
Just really simple. It just works. Also, like, what a job opening. Wow. Like, let's go to Carolina.
I know.
Yeah. Also, like, just real quick, I want to investigate EPA a little bit because I saw this EPA list and like I'm not really sure what the formula is for that, but like Baker Mayfield's 6th in EPA per dropback.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, what are we doing? Because like there was this nerd debate, and I'm a nerd, but like not I don't go that far. Yeah. And it's like there's this debate over Lamar Jackson being 10th. And like Brock Purdy's like in the sky #1, and I was like, all right, this has to be normalized somehow. This can't be the full story. And of course, it's not really taking into account on dropbacks, broken runs, and all these things. My point being, what?
My point being, what? I think you said it right. I mean, if you're going to tell me Baker Mayfield has the 6th best season of a quarterback in the NFL, your stat is wrong. Your stat is bad.
In the NFC South is what they mean. So, but I actually do think at least there's something with Tampa. They have some sort of identity with regard to like Is Bowles anything more than than a defensive coordinator who has a big office? No, but he at least has something. And I still think that defense has some stuff. Also, like you said it, I think last week, a couple weeks ago, like their secondary's been playing better. Like last week's a bad example of that.
Yeah, it
but
really is.
It really is. I don't talk about that part.
You will say this though.
I will say that Antoine Winfield is one of my favorite players in the league, junior, and I'm going with the Baker. Even if Baker's out, just give me Kyle Trask or whoever that next guy is.
I'm living dangerously, man. I'm playing into, in some of these cases, the market overvaluing the team with motivation. So right. I'm going to take Carolina plus 4.5. Ugh, that feels bad. The Browns and Bengals, there's no motivation here. The Browns are going to sit everybody. There's no Joe Flacco. The Bengals, I guess they're considered a 7-point favorite because they care enough to not use Jamar Chase. Like, I assume anybody who's even a little bit nicked up doesn't play. Please, let's not talk about this game. Do you have a pick for me if it's Cincinnati -7?
Yeah, just Cleveland, just because.
Okay.
Just because it's not, and it's like, first of all, it's two people, and everything matters in Ohio. Okay, like, all right, this is the bad. Like, you really well. Within Ohio, it's Ohio on Ohio crime. That's important to them.
The publishing clearinghouse sweepstake matters in Ohio? Are you sure?
Yeah. I mean, the Browns are built off of an illegal gas transfer, and then the Bengals didn't have a practice facility till like last week. So
matters. This stuff matters. All right, the Packers. They're a win in your in team, and they're in a weird spot because I told you last week it was borne out again. I think if the Bears had been playing like this and Fields hadn't gotten hurt, they'd be a 10-win team. I think they're playing really, really well, but it's also a lot easier to play well when it doesn't matter. When you're, in contention for a top 3 pick until, November or whatever. So I don't want to say they're good, but they are playing very well. The motivation here certainly lines with Green Bay because Chicago cannot make the playoffs. And let's say Green Bay last week answered some questions.
They did, yeah. Jordan Love's been pretty good lately. He just has been, and I think there is something to be said about the growth of his young receivers, and they finally got a little bit healthier. But he just has been. I don't know why I'm hesitant to say that, but it's just true. What is it, like 16 touchdowns and 1 interception since like week 13 or something? And it's a strange year with touchdowns, but like he's right there for the league. Like that's
all you have to do is, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm backing you up because all you have to do is watch these games and not even worry about the stats are really good. But like
right.
You just watch him and you're like, oh, they're all the stuff that they said about how he can take the good parts of Aaron Rodgers and the good parts of Brett Favre and maybe not be so wild. And like it's kind of manifested for the last 6 weeks.
No, and there's some fun momentum with that team. Other than the fact that they have like 17 first rounders in defense who like all just run into each other.
Right. But we're talking a pretty different game than we did when we were like, Minnesota's going to kill these guys. That defense is horrible. Like it didn't all just change just because they beat freaking Jaron Hall and Nick Mullins.
Right. And you're right that you should be wary of the motivation spread. But at the same time, I just think this team actually has momentum and has some things going. And I don't think I think LaFleur's fine. I think he's done well recently getting this quarterback ready. And yeah, I just really happy my Jaden Reed dynasty shares. Just wanted to share that. So.
All right. All that said, record scratch, Jim McCormick. I'm taking the Bears. Give me those points.
Taking the pack.
No, I'm taking the Bears. So I'm doing the record scratch. You're right on your analysis, and I'm just going the other way. I already pushed 2 games. I didn't pick the Saints game. I didn't pick the Bengals game. I'm only allowed 2 a week. This is another one where I nailed the line exactly, but by a small margin, I'll just take the Bears. The Cowboys have some motivation to at least beat the Commanders because that means they win improbably, Jim. I would never have expected it would be possible that the Cowboys could win this division. Did you know, Jim? No broadcast has said this, that no team in the NFC has repeated as champion in the NFC East since 2004 or something? Did you know that?
Yeah, another stat is like no team has ever been 11-1 and failed to win 13 games. That's ever. That's pretty cool. Rich coat type vibes for any 90s babies or 80s babies or whatever. But yeah, this one. I think Sam Howell only looks good against the Eagles too.
Yeah.
So he's not playing the Eagles, and he's really bad. And I think isn't he the first no, I forget who the other. Blake Bortles, the last quarterback to lead the league in interceptions and sacks. So that's cool. He didn't even play all the games, but I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say what I will say.
Do you remember our days at ESPN fighting in the room about Blake Bortles? About everybody's like, hey, guys, he's QB6. This year he's QB6. And do you remember?
And last year was QB4. So
do you remember my face turning beet red and saying, "Guys, he's terrible"? Do you remember this?
There's also the era of raising hands. So like, I just will say. I will say no, but they're gonna kill them. The Cowboys are just gonna roll all over the place. And yes, the motivation is very, very high because one, they can, and also I want to say Daniel Snyder's TV choices. If anybody saw the 49ers watching the end of the Eagles game, securing the 1 seed at FedEx Field, it was like Michael Scott's TV in the corner. It was like a 7-inch diagonal flat screen. So that I had that going for us. That I got to see other versions of people watching my downfall. But honestly, it's fine. I don't think about it. And you can set this line at anything, and I'm just going boys.
-13 is the line. I set it at 14, but I'm gonna comfortably give them. I'm happy with it doing it. All right, this one doesn't matter. Broncos, Raiders. The Raiders are 3-point favorites. Who you got?
Raiders, because
you're gonna lay 'em?
Max. I'm just gonna lay him. Max Crosby, Aiden O'Connell is really bad, and Josh Jacobs is just like, I'm not playing.
And therefore, I'm gonna take the Raiders.
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the points. I think they're exactly the same.
1 out of 3. 1 out of 3 good things though, and I can't even name one good thing with the Broncos. So.
All right, Jarrett Stidham, what a star. Won that game last week.
He's starting for the Vikings this week, actually. So.
They would love it. They would be so happy. All right, Jim, we've got to get to your team. This is where we're going to spread out a little bit. I was hurrying through a couple other games so we could spend a little time on this one. We're not going to spend too much time on the game. The Eagles, I guess they have a little motivation. Not really. Not really. Like, are they going to play their guys as far as you know midweek?
They're doing the silly. They're doing the vagaries. I mean, I will stop it. So,
hey Jim, what will you say?
It feels like the Giants and Eagles played very recently because they did.
They did.
And the Eagles. It was another exposure game that they somehow pulled out.
Excruciating. Yeah.
Excruciating, and yet it's like deep in the season, a team who's coming off a Super Bowl loss, and then like had a very good record this year for a while, and they have no idea what happens when you blitz. And against Wick Martindale, who only knows how to blitz, like it's just incredible. And so I think they need to actually. This is my homer opinion. They need to get this team some reps against live fire again, like to not go out like that. At the same time, they would have to win 5 straight road games to go to the Super Bowl. That's not going to happen. Yeah.
Isn't the problem the defense? I mean, the offense is scoring points.
The offense is fine. No, but what I mean is like that's why I'm saying when you're saying who would rest,
yeah.
I'm saying I think they're going to play at least a quarter or like preseason style. And you can scoreboard watch. I don't think it's going to be tough to look over and see 21-0 Dallas.
Right.
And then so at some point you have to have good faith in the fact that like the NFL is weird and what if Sam Howell's good for a minute, blah, blah, blah. But that's not going to happen. There is some motivation. So I do think they're going to play is my answer. Okay. I do think they're going to play, but I do think there's a real ripcord there where if it's halftime and it just seems improbable,
Right. Oh, yeah. I think that's a great point. And that might be the case in a few of these, which is why they are trying to make them be contemporaneous, like have similar start times. That is a good point. What's with the defense, dude? All we could talk about, fine. You want to tell me bad corners. You've said it all year. I believe you. That's fine. You want to tell me injuries in the middle of the field. That's okay too. You want to tell me very stupid man has taken over from a less stupid man as defensive coordinator. I'm a Patriot fan. I understand that. That is true, Matt Patricia. All I know is that for 3 months, the Eagle defensive line was terrifying to run against. And suddenly, they are not. They are easy to run against. I used James Conner in a fantasy final last week and I was thrilled to do it. Why? Do you have an answer? I mean, you're not the coach.
I do. I do some answers. Yeah. So the Georgia guys just wore down. Like Carter is making some splash plays still, but like Jordan Davis is just like, I need a nap, right? He just hit a wall because this is ostensibly his real rookie year. He was redshirted last year. He had a big ankle injury. Then like they signed Ndamukong Suh. They brought in Linville Joseph. My point is like he had like a very low snap rate last year. I don't know why I had to say it twice. I thought I said like rat snap or something, but you know. The Eagles are wearing down. They've relied on this. There's a bit of, it's a mixture, for the defensive line, it's a mixture of youth and age. Fletcher Cox is 100, and everybody else is 22, right? So, and Brandon Graham's 100. There's like not really any middle prime. And here's the other thing. It's the first time since like 2007, I think, something, where the Eagles haven't had an edge sack in a month. A single edge sack. So all the pressure's coming up the middle. And Huet and Reddick are small. I think this is a season where they played these guys a lot of snaps, where this team was used to rotating. They didn't have as much depth this year. My main point is, yes, they've completely regressed. If you look at like December 10th, they were like 4th in overall defense, 1st in rush defense.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a colossal shift in outcomes. And it reminds me of late Reed. And the best example would be, yes, his talent, and yes, his scheme. Yes, just all those things. But the thing would be like late Reed defenses used to have like Brian Dawkins. It's like a GPA, like A- in communications. Then you'd have one player here like Fletcher, and then you have 4 Fs. That's still a 2.1. Okay, The GPA for this defense is very low. Not a talented team right now. Just hoping the Saints trade us some picks again this year. That'd be cool.
It's just like, I think take the over in every Eagle game. Like, there's just, the defense is playing so bad. It is crazy. All right. Interesting analysis. The Eagles are going to the Giants. They are a 5-point favorite.
Oof. I'm taking the points with this G-Man. And the real thing is just that no team would ever want to mess up their draft stock like the Giants. It's just who they are. It's an ode to the Knicks. And just like win 7 games at the end of the year, and now suddenly you're the 8th pick. It's just who they are, It's who they are. And Tyrod, like he's not terrible.
He's so much better than Tommy Veal Parmesan or whatever.
Exactly.
My God, yeah.
Than like Bobby Marinara. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely agree. All right, moving on. Seattle going to Arizona. Arizona also not playing bad. They hung tough with Chicago, not towards the end, but for a while they were in it. And I think Chicago's. Like I've said, I think Chicago's good. Seattle has to win and then get help. So there's a potential motivation gap there. I don't know. But the Seahawks are a 2-point favorite on the road.
I'm gonna give the points here with Seattle.
2.5. My
Yeah.
mistake.
I'm gonna give the points here. I feel like that was the Cardinals Super Bowl last week. They didn't punt. They didn't punt.
Why was Jonathan Gannon just shaking his fist? I hate you so much, Eagles. Is that why?
And then I had to deal with. We had to deal with the Cardinals have a Twitter account. Like, who even knew that? And they tweeted to the Arizona Diamondbacks. They were like, "Isn't it fun beating up Philly?" And I was like, "Stop! Stop! Go! Put some sunscreen on. Get a small pool. Okay?
Go get a melanoma looked at."
Yeah. Go fight off those coyotes. Where's your dog? All right. So. Who's living in Cliff Kingsbury's house? So I think all Arizona coaches live in that house. I think it's like a real world house that you have to move into it. But I'm going to give the points. I really do think that was a great. It really was a great performance but it's like, again, we just talked about how abysmal the Eagles' defense is. Seattle's defense is better than that. They have good young corners. They're not great or anything, but I think this line justifies itself. And there's always a potential for bad Geno. But there's also potential for good Geno. So I'm going to throw that out there.
I think the biggest thing I'm impressed with the Cardinals is the offensive line. It's like turned into a thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's good. Good young offensive line.
A home run, for sure. And then they have I forget his name. I hate to say it, but there was a guard who was just mauling us last week. So they were blowing him off the line last week.
I'm taking the Cardinals. Give me the 2.5. I'm all over it. Rams 49ers, we don't need to spend any time on because they're both in the playoffs and they both not playing anybody. So it's going to be it's going to be Carson Wentz. We can talk about that if you want.
He's tall.
His teammates inevitably all hate him.
He's got the most self-confident deer on his property because he can't hit anything. And they're just like this guy. He's got a laser sight. Just go over there. Just So you got that going. So yeah, it's just incredible. And also, like, obviously, like but again, it's one of those things where the 49ers are going to sit everybody, but what if they're all still pretty good?
Right, they can't sit everybody, right? But the Rams are also everybody. Whoever, like, Kupp's not playing. I already said, like, Stafford's not playing. Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz. That's some quality watching right there. The line is Niners -4, and it's another one I nailed. I nailed 7 lines this week. It's just I'm tired of doing that. Who are you taking?
I'm going to give the points here. I just think like that team has waves, and again, they're not going to sit everybody. We do that sit everybody thing. There's not 100 players. It's not a college football team. Just to be
a contrarian, I'll just go the other way. I'll go the Rams. Please don't play this game. It's not going to be fun to have money on. The Chiefs in the last regular window game, they have nothing to play for. They're going to sit Patrick Mahomes. It's Blaine Gabbert starting for the Chiefs, and they're coming here to Los Angeles. There are going to be 5 people watching that game against the Chargers. And that line is Chargers -3.5, which is, I guess that means Patrick Mahomes is worth a lot.
Yeah, it seems like he is. Also, here's one question. Like, not everybody, because that's not true. But people are saying, I've heard that the Chargers is some like great job, and like I get it. Like you have a quarterback, but is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Like their defense is weird and old. Like nobody knows, but Khalil Mack has 16 sacks. Like what? But he's 30. He turns 34 next week.
And I think like of those 16, 12 of them were in 2 different games.
Yes. Yeah. And Joey Bosa is gonna get cut. Eckler's out. Aging skill group. I get it, but you have a lot of work to do there too. I don't think it's like all so great.
Yeah, except for the quarterback. That's all you really.
No, the quarterback thing matters a lot. It does.
It matters. Yeah, but it's an old roster.
It's weird. It's a weird mix. It's kind of not turned over yet, but I get it. What is Belichick going to go there and do weird stuff with them and like get a Ray-Ban sponsor and try to be cool? That's going to be so creepy. But I can't give points with this team. I just can't. And I still think the Chiefs defense is young and good. They're not going to sit all them, so I'm just taking the points because I just don't. First of all, Easton Stick disrespect out here. Like what?
Easton Stick respect. I think making the Chargers 3.5 point favorite. That's
true. I said the opposite of what
a lot of belief. I'll be on the Chiefs too. I'll say Chiefs +3.5. All right, and then I do want to talk about the last game, the Sunday night game. The winner of Bills at Dolphins wins the AFC East. The Bills losing could conceivably mean they'd miss the playoffs. I think mostly we think they'll probably get in, but some combination of other stuff can happen. And if they lost to the Dolphins, they could potentially not get in. The Dolphins obviously have motivation as well because they want to win the division, have a home game for sure. So the way I want to couch this is the passage of time, which, as you can see on Jim and my faces, if you're watching on YouTube, ravages us for sure. We remember back to when the Dolphins were setting the world on fire and beat the Broncos by 1,000 points and went up to Buffalo with a lot of swag and got their absolute butts handed to them by a Bills team that looked amazing at the time. And 4 months have gone by, Jim, and oh boy, do I not feel that way about the Bills anymore.
They're weird. They show up. They don't show up. They're very volatile. And yeah, I didn't get a chance to see that live, but I did go back and look at it. And man, yeah, Josh Allen looked like year 2 Josh Allen. He looked like he was just out there Brett Favre in it, and not in the good way. I don't know what the good Brett Favre is, but he just wasn't. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. It was wild man. It was wild man.
You're talking last week against the Patriots.
I'm sorry. Let's get into the Patriots. So what I mean is that plays into I'm saying the state of the team now.
Yeah.
But there also is something to be said about the Dolphins. I legitimately feel horrible for these players. I mean, you got their 2 young edges, an Achilles and an ACL late in the season. That is brutal. Just a team that was so top heavy, so Lakersy, whatever. I keep using that, but I'm saying very top heavy build, fragile, and it's falling apart. It's gotta fall apart. So.
Yeah,
kind of tipping around. Yeah. But can you explain what you saw from Allen? Because I
mean, he was not taking the short stuff that he usually takes when a team plays back. The Patriots played back. This is what the Patriots do against high-powered offenses. They're scared to death, and Bill Belichick doesn't want a big number pasted on him. So he goes, "All right, we'll play back. Go ahead. If you want a bunch of 7-minute drives, that's great. Go ahead. Win by 17. At least we didn't give up 100 points." And they couldn't even do that against the Cowboys or the Saints this year. But yeah, Allen just decided to keep firing it deep. And yeah, I really, we've talked a lot about Stephon Diggs. Did he fall off a cliff? I don't know. Did Josh Allen? Because I really feel like this is way more about Allen than it is about Diggs. And I don't know what's up. It feels like, feels like a little while since the offensive coordinator being fired fixed everything. Remember when James Cook was amazing? I think that was 3 weeks ago, I think. Remember? Yeah, I think the offense is kind of a mess, and I don't think the defense is good. And I'm with you. Now Miami's defense might not be good. Didn't Xavier Howard leave that game too? I don't know what his status is.
And he's been in and out of the lineup all year. And so, so Jalen Ramsey's the beacon of health. It's not great. So
right. And yet the same, you look at the Dolphins. How could you watch last week against the Ravens with the Dolphins and not think exactly what we said? I think I might quite literally could quote myself, maybe not quite literally, but I said, if I were just doing this not based on, the whole super team thing, the super team losing the next week, I would say, wow, the Dolphins are a terrible matchup because they're a poodle team. I wouldn't trust the poodle team going to Baltimore. And they are. They're a beachy South Florida, breezy little beach read with a lady on the cover of the book with the sunglasses and the martini. And, the second a team from Buffalo comes in, the book winds up in the ocean. I'm terrified of the kind of styles makes fights aspect of it, but I think I'm more terrified of Josh Allen right now as a road favorite.
Yeah, that's scary, but I'm gonna give him. But I did promise. Okay. I did promise to learn a Buffalo accent, and I just didn't. But I'm gonna just go for that. I'm gonna make one up. All right, it's like Buffalo people. They talk like, "Hey, buddy, how's it going? What are you doing? Huh? What are you doing?" That's it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, promise fulfilled. Clearly. I'm going to take the Dolphins. I don't feel awesome about it, but because obviously when they played before, but it's just a million years ago, and the Bills' defense wasn't all destroyed, and I don't think that's coming back. Allen can certainly turn it around any given moment, and he's always got the rushing touchdown in him, and he's always got, some long drives when they need it in him, but I don't trust him.
All day. I think he might have all day back there because all this Fangio talk. Last week, Eagles fans were like, "Oh man, I wish we had Vic Fangio." I mean, the guy just gave us 75 points to the Ravens. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. All right, so I'm gonna be on the Dolphins there. Let's do the part of the show where we pick our favorite wager of the week, and there are way fewer candidate games because there's like 5 or 6 here that I wouldn't touch with anybody's wallet. Not even David Temper's wallet. Do you have a favorite picked out, or do I need to vamp?
I do. No, anymore? I do.
Okay.
I like that you still get that happens often. It does. I will say that the Seahawks are given 2.5 points, but what they're not accounting for is that Pete Carroll for Christmas got 10 packs of gum. He's ready. He's going to chew them, and it's time.
What you don't realize is that he chewed them all on New Year's Eve.
Oof, he does have a problem. It's true.
All right, so you're on Seattle as your best bet, -2.5 on the road at Arizona, and I'm going to go back to Saturday night's game. I'm going back to Houston. I like the Texans because I like the quarterback so much more than Gardner Minshew, and I feel good. I feel like the Texans are going to win that game and get in as a wild card. Probably Jacksonville wins straight up against Tennessee, but maybe doesn't cover. But yeah, I like Houston over Indianapolis. What do you all think, though? Tell us in the comments. It's a brand new year. We're going to be here making this show all through the playoffs, and we might add some prop bets to our lineup. And we'd love to know what you think. Even if you don't want to make a best bet, just say hi. Show signs of life down in the comments because, the audience dwindles a little bit as the season goes along, and we just want to know you're there. Producer Dave works really, really hard on the show, and it'd be nice if you just said, "Hi, Dave." Even if you're not going to post a pic, just "Hi, Dave." Down in the comments, "Hi, Dave." I want to see 20 hi Daves by the time we get down there. All right, that's going to do it for Week 18. It wasn't that fun to preview some of these games, but other ones are going to be a blast to watch. And we'll be back with wild card predictions and analysis on the show next week. For producer Dave, for Jim McCormick, my name is Chris, and I really appreciate you watching. Thanks. Bye. Thanks so much for watching. Please, please, please smash that like button. Write a comment, tell us who else you'd like to see us review film on, and of course, best of all, please subscribe to our channel and then click that little bell above the subscribe button and you'll be notified whenever we post a new video.